I have a lot of stuff on my mind, but I think I'm just gonna see if anybody wants to talk about something. If not, I'm just gonna sit here and do some work I've been meaning to do. Yehonatan,
Shalom.
how you doing?
I'm driving.
You are driving, and it's
Should I
early
try?
afternoon. Are you picking up your kids?
No, I'm driving back from northern Michigan where I was visiting my friend who is a pastor of a small Protestant church.
You have friends?
That's not nice.
I had
Lots of
to.
friends. I have lots of friends.
So he's the pastor of a small. So does he know about the whole Noahide thing? What does he think about the whole Noahide thing? Or you haven't talked to him about that? You're back.
This is gonna be like that Hezi thing, right? Where I get a phone call and it blips out. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry about that. What do you think about it? I was his friend. We grew up kind of. We went to the Baptist high school, and I converted to Catholicism. So he's kind of like not surprised anymore when I make big religious changes. So he's kind of like, okay, that's cool. Also, I mean, he's pretty committed to the business he's in. So, like, yeah. So it's a. We didn't talk about it much, to be honest, but it's okay.
I mean, like, I don't know. I know at least some Noahides have had this experience of you're rejecting Jesus.
No, it's not like his denomination is pretty. They're not like the super liberal type, but they're pretty like go along to get along. They're a little. They kind of tolerate everything. They do infant baptism. They do adult baptism. They're I think they're kind of a congregational model, so they also don't have like a very like strict hierarchical structure. So they tend to be a little more tolerant of a plurality of beliefs. They're squishy a little bit, right? So yeah, so they're not the type to get too wound up about it.
I guess. I mean, yeah.
It's kind of like PVK flavored Christianity, right? Like,
Okay.
not as much like the Cedric Parcells version of Reformed Christianity. They're a Lutheran Free Church offshoot kind of thing. So not Reformed, but not Baptist. They're out of the Scandinavian Lutheran Church.
Yeah, I still think PVK ultimately thinks there's a huge difference whether or not you believe in the Trinity.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe on paper, yeah, maybe. Sure. And I would maybe say that my friend's denomination would have the same general sense, maybe not quite as whatever is in between on paper or anything goes. So it's again it's squishy.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's a relatively boring drive down Lake Michigan through the woods, and I saw that you were streaming, and I was like, well, I'll jump on. So I think I've binge watched all of Denise's videos in the past 48 hours. Have you talked to her? Have you talked to her one-on-one?
I have.
Since her video that had to do with bar mitzvahs. Did you watch that one?
I did not. No, this is new?
It's from the past couple of weeks. The one titled something about anti-Semitism and something else on our channel.
I did not watch that one. So
okay, she talks about you quite a bit, but okay. Anyway, but you have talked to her. When did you talk to her?
I spoke to her privately.
Yeah.
There was I mean, actually we had kind of scheduled to do it just chatting, and then we started talking before I hit the stream button, and and it just it kept I mean, we talked for quite a bit, and then Father Eric came on, and I had forgotten. I mean, this was on Monday, and I had forgot. Well, yeah, I don't usually stream at the same time as Father Eric, so I suggested she take a look at Father Eric's stuff. I have to say, I am somewhat concerned about Denise. I think she gets a lot of things wrong, and so like. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about her too much in her absence. She's welcome to join, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, I left comments on some of those videos. Honestly, I think she needs to do more of her homework. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Trey, aren't you supposed to be at work?
The capitalist class have allowed me to have a lunch break, so I'm very grateful for that.
Aha! You are jumping onto a Just Chatting stream on a lunch break.
Yep.
Jacob,
Wow!
you need to
Is
jump
that-
into your car so we can all be
Driving
Yeah.
our cars. Yes.
yeah. Just driving.
Utility maximizers, of course.
Trey, I was hoping you would find a girlfriend at Burning Man. Apparently, that didn't happen.
No. Why would I want a Burning Man girlfriend? Those are great people.
I don't know. I figured Burning Man is a time to find love.
Is this your second year, Trey, or you
Yeah, it's my second time going.
less dangerous
I don't
this
know if
time?
I'll go again. No, I think somebody dies at least every year, but
Yeah, there's no
that's
mud.
why no, there was mudslides. There was mudslides. There was a whole bunch of raining.
I
But
heard there
not
was
as
a
much
lot
death.
of wind.
Yeah. The one place no man should build, but they do.
Interesting. So why do you like it?
Because it's not political at all. That's why he likes it.
No.
Trey's craving political though. That's
No, I have to say the funniest thing Trey ever said was, "I went to Burning Man. There were no protests there."
how's the water?
I'm just gonna let dogs lie and just move on from that comment. But I don't know. I don't think I'll go back to Burning Man. I think I'm done. You know,
The
you think it's
orgy
bigger
tent
than this.
collapsed. Apparently, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why Trey didn't like it this time.
Probably too soon, but it would be hilarious if a paramilitary group came in on, little like those parachute jetpacks and shot the place up. That would be a pretty interesting end to a Burning Man. Not that I would like push that on anybody, but
Okay.
Anyways,
Clarify a few things. There is an orgy tent, but single men are not allowed to go in there.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, BLM still actually does police. And frankly, from what I hear, given all the billionaires there, it may be one of the most secure. Burning Man is the apogee of our societal hypocrisy. It is just hilarious in how hypocritical it is.
a lot of Israelis there.
Makes sense?
Being of hypocrisy. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I have a conspiracy about Burning Man. You want to hear it?
Go ahead.
please.
I think there is no premarital sex going on at Burning Man. That is my real conspiracy. Because I think all the young people are either already coupled up. Also, when I was there, anytime a girl would be dancing, they'd always move away from all the guys if they were younger.
There's girls there.
And there were girls there. Yes, there were girls. There were femoids.
Okay.
But yeah, none of the young people were talking to any of the young people. The only people that were actually talkative, strike up a conversation, were all the old people. The rest were just doing EDM dance parties.
Isn't that because you're all Gen Z and you don't like to touch each other and stuff?
Well, okay, that's part of it, but I also think it's because when you ask people what do they think of Burning Man, they always compare it to other EDM festivals,
Okay.
especially the younger people. And I think that's the split where some people go oh, it's gonna be a good party, and then the older people are like, no, I've been going to Burning Man for 10 years. I know all the principles, I know the history, and I'm going to create art, and I'm here to meet the people, not those other things. So
Okay. So it's all business.
I just wonder what the people who came up with Burning Man would they would probably be like in horror of what it has become.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think everyone who did it is just rolling in their graves.
Yeah,
Sadly.
I'm not sure about
Are they dead?
sadly, but
Yeah, the creator's dead. He died in like 2018.
the thing is, like, okay, Burning Man was about burning the man, right? Like, there's this huge effigy of the man which they burn, right? And it's just like, wow. It is now populated by the man.
I would have to look up if like the original people thought of them as the man, like the
Yes,
actual.
that is the thing of Burning Man. That it was an effigy of the man. They were going out in
Yeah.
the desert, burning an effigy. The whole thing is a protest.
So what do you think is happening now, Jake?
Now the man goes out and pretends they're not the man, which is the Democratic Party. Like that is what the Democratic Party is. It's a bunch of people who are now the man who wants to say that they are not the man. It is just hilarious.
It's like
Paul
Carnival.
Mandelbrot,
They get to LARP.
non-capitalist utopia attracts billionaires and social elites. Jacob is right. That's what it is. What'd you say, Jonathan? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said it's like Carnival for a week, and they get to LARP as protesters. They get to sort of pretend that they're not the man anymore.
Yeah.
So they co-opted the movement.
But they don't realize they co-opted it. They genuinely believe that they are not the man.
And so it's genuine, it's authentic, and that's why they gravitated toward it and went out there, and they just don't see the irony.
Yeah, it's this thing where I mean, this is classical delusion, right? This is what delusion is, right? It is when you have a self-perception which has no connection with reality. And in fact, is the opposite of reality. Paul Vanderklay being political again. The Dems are now having trouble finding their man. Gavin wants to be the man, the whitest, most establishment man you could imagine. Make McMo the man. Yeah.
You have to turn everything into culture slop when it can just be something else. But that's another point. I don't really think that many people there actually like. I don't know. I was looking it up, but I didn't really find the evidence you found. But that's agree to disagree. But hi, Paul. Nice to see you.
I mean, Trey, you're the only one actually there, but I think the problem is nobody trusts your judgment, even on the scene.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance is a thing. That's very true.
Oh, wait. How's that cognitive dissonance?
People. Yeah.
He thinks Jacob should agree with thing. Okay. This is the Wikipedia article.
Right.
Right. History. Burning Man began as a bonfire and a ritual on the summer solstice. Sculptor Mary Grauberger, a friend of Larry Harvey's girlfriend, Janet Lair, held solstice bonfire gatherings at Baker Beach for several years before 1986, some of which Harvey attended. When Grauberger stopped organizing it, Harvey picked up the torch with Grauberger's permission and ran with it. Radical self-expression. By 1988, Harvey formally named. Oh, hold on. In 1987, hold on. Where's the thing of the man? Okay. On June 22nd, Harvey, James, and a few friends met on Baker Beach in San Francisco and burned an 8-foot-tall wooden man and a smaller wooden dog. Harvey later described his inspiration for burning these effigies as a spontaneous act of radical self-expression. In 1987, the man grew to 15 feet tall, and by 1988, it had grown to 30 feet. By 1988, Harvey formally named the summer solstice ritual Burning Man by titling flyers for happening as such. This was done to ward off references to Wicker Man, the reputed Celtic pagan practice of burning live sacrifices in human-shaped wicker cages. Harvey has said that he had not seen the 1973 cult film The Wicker Man. Okay. I mean, I'm surprised it's not talking about, because when I looked at it up, it was like definitely Burning the Man was about the man.
But I think that's well, I don't know. You could say that, but it doesn't say that in direct writing.
Apparently, I mean, I'm surprised.
So I'll give it a point to you. The Cacophony Society, which is the people who inspired it. So if you do Control F on the Wikipedia page, who are sort of like a rebellious group, sort of like that group actually, you know, in Fight Club there was the Demolition Crew, that was inspired by it. Yeah, they actually helped. They were part of Burning Man and moving it to the desert.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when I looked up because I was wondering what Burning Man was, and like when I looked it up, it was like about like the Los Angeles group splintered in late 2000 when longtime leader Reverend Al Ridenour pranked the society itself and declared a bold new direction for the branch by allegedly joining an Orthodox Christian community out of guilt over the deaths of 2 young members who reportedly died in a drunken post-event car accident. However, one of the men eventually turned out to be completely fictitious, and the other, Peter, Mr. Outer Space Guyberger, was discovered to be alive. In spring 2001, Ridenour stepped down as leader of the chapter. Okay.
It's a cool group. I posted in the Discord. I was like, you know, new cult ideas. They're pretty much dead now, as
Thank
all
God.
things created go.
Here, I'll ask Grok, because Grok will always give us the correct answer. Is Burning Man a reference to burning the man as in having to do with government? What is the evidence for this? Let's see what Grok says. It's going to take a while.
I never thought it was burning the man.
You were saying, Jonathan?
I've never known it to be sort of like burning the man, but actually just burning an effigy of a man.
No. It's as I was told about it. It was burning the effigy of the man, like burning the man in effigy.
Yeah, it's like a hippie thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we need to start having some more splinter groups off Estuary. We need to get some radicals. We need to get some, you know, San Francisco types, you know, less wrong people, start their own communes, stuff like that, you know. We need more radicals.
We don't need more radicals.
What did you think about the trans cult in San Francisco of the rationalist stuff?
When you don't believe in God, it doesn't mean you don't believe in anything. It means you
Actually,
end up believing in anything.
Nick Bostrom is a fan of the rationalist community. He mentions the super organizer, which is a form of AI intelligence equivalent to God. So yes, there are people in the rationalist community that do believe in God, and that's actually separating it.
Actually,
Yep, it is. Look up. Their rationalists are talking about the cosmic host and how AI will be the new God. I'm telling you, the colonists are more influential than you think.
I don't think they're that influential.
I think they are.
Brock apparently agrees with you. No, the Burning Man is not a reference to burning the man in the slang sense of rebelling against government or authority, as in stick it to the man. The event's name directly derives from its central ritual, the construction and ceremonial burning of a large wooden effigy called the Man, which has been a core element since the festival's inception in 1986. This literal interpretation is consistently supported by official histories and co-founder accounts with no documented evidence that the name or effigy was intended to symbolize anti-government sentiment. I have to bow down to the greater knowledge of Grok, I guess. Adoption of the name. Symbolic role of the man. The effigy serves as a navigational landmark in Black Rock City, the temporary festival site, often adorned with neon for visibility, and its burning represents themes of transformation, impermanence, and communal release. Participants interpret it variably. Some see it as a symbol of renewal or letting go, but official sources in Harvey's writings emphasize personal and artistic significance over political allegory. Evidence for an anti-government interpretation. There's no strong direct evidence.
Are you going to read all of it?
Not all of it, but I'm going to read this part. Linking the name or effigy to burning the man as a metaphor of anti. However, some secondary interpretations and the event's cultural context provide loose associations, temporary autonomous zone concepts, anti-capitalist and anti-establishment ethos, slang overlap. Yeah, official denials. Larry Harvey and the Burning Man Project consistently describe the effigy as a neutral artistic figure without political intent. I think they protest too much, but whatever. Okay, you were saying.
What? I don't know what I was saying. Well, I have another topic. Well, I was going to talk about like other stuff, but Jonathan, there's been discussions on the internet forums about how wives and children actually knock down your ability to create art, make things. Do you have any thoughts on that? As a married person with kids, do they slow you down?
Well, I think a lot of the impulse to create art in young men is to find wives and children, and then once mission's been accomplished, they're maybe in some ways a little less impetus to do it. I think mostly it's just because it's a drain on time, and so you really have to be more deliberate about carving out that time, and also energy, to have energy, because you don't have time because you have a lot of energy going towards your family. So that's a part of it for sure.
Okay.
I mean, art is a leisure activity, and leisure time gets reduced when you have responsibilities. So, but you know, I'm sure there's plenty of examples of married men with plenty of wives and kids who make art. But yeah, I don't know.
Fascinating.
The question is, what is the telos of your life? Making art or actually making life?
To be a great man of history, and that says it. You can't be a great man of history and have kids and a loving wife. It's over.
I don't know that that's true.
Genghis Khan had a lot of kids, and he's a great man of history.
Was he much of a family man though? I mean, that's a question.
Or it can't be a great father and have a great man of history.
Well, he was a great father. I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
Great.
But he definitely imbibed the lesson, and the nuclear family is a nuclear disaster. He's like, okay, well, the nuclear families be damned. I'll be all extended family.
From a materialist perspective, I don't see how you can get beyond, like, if you have any telos, I don't see how you don't get beyond Genghis Khan was the greatest person ever.
It follows, yeah, definitely the logical conclusion. But we don't spend a lot of time thinking about or emulating him. We think about a celibate guy who evidently had no kids. So,
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
It's all because he was Jewish. If he wasn't Jewish, nobody would have cared at all about Jesus.
Yeah.
all right, fine, yeah.
Have you been?
It's ultimately this focus on Jews that the world has.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Nick Fuentes and Sam Hyde? 1 million views, baby.
Oh, 1 million views, a whole million views. That's chump change on the internet.
I think it's probably more, but probably biggest white supremacists, to get 1 million views.
I mean, what percentage of that is people who are serious, and what percentage is people who think it's hilarious?
Okay, sure.
No,
You're not scared of it, then that's fine.
Question. Serious question. What percentage do you think are people who unironically were watching and were like, these are two really intelligent people with incisive comments? And what percentage were like, this is going to be hilarious?
Why are you asking that question?
Because
it's important.
Important about the actual influence and reach of this.
There's a huge difference between I'm laughing with you and I'm laughing at you.
Definitely. It just seems like the current tactic that pretty much we can do is it's like, oh, dismissal. Just keep dismissing. Guys, just don't look. It isn't a problem. And then it's like, once it does become a problem, then it's like,
Nick Fuentes is not a problem. Like, have I ever been on the Nick Fuentes is not a problem? Like, are you joking? Have you met me?
Then why say the comments that you are saying?
Because I think it's important to recognize the problem is there are so many people who think that, and there are a lot of people. I mean, I'm Yoram Hazony's speech at the NatCon conference, which very few people listen to. It's only half an hour long. I think is far, far more important than Nick Fuentes talking to whatchamacallit, because he was talking. Yeah, Trey is actually you wouldn't realize Trey's a big guy. Yeah, and he's pretty buff too, which you wouldn't expect. And he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so he could take you in a fight probably too. But anyway, that's all beside the point. No, Yoram Hazony's speech yesterday, which came out yesterday at the NatCon conference being held this week, like, that's important, and that's downstream of Nick Fuentes's horrible influence. But the problem with Nick Fuentes is so many people don't realize A, he exists, and too many people in his audience imagine that the other people in the audience agree with them, which they don't.
Man, it's so hard to make any pushing points. I'll just state my opinions and why I think there's some smart parts. I think that if you watch somebody unconsciously, that you're probably like allowing his ideas to filter in your brain, and you don't really know where that's going. So, if you start like listening, some jokes and everything, especially if you view him as a comedian or you view him as an Oculus, your brain isn't really being attentive to these things. So you're just going to sort of pass through. And of course, you don't innately believe them, but it just means that you may have some facts that are dislodged and reframed. So you may like just start thinking about these things more, right? And when there's some other opportunities to sort of ignite those ideas, then that's a problem. But either way, right? Like, how many fascists do you need for it to be a problem? Like, if 20% of Americans pretty much decided fascism, that would probably be a problem, right?
100% I agree with every single thing you said there. And that's why people like John Oliver and Stewart, you know, that's how The Daily Show and these comedians ended up creating all of woke and the communist takeover in the United States. It's Fuentes is playing the playbook of Jon Stewart and John Oliver. So yes, I agree with you 100% about that. But what happened was when people woke up and were like, "Oh, hold on, like they're saying this stuff really," is when the backlash started. And that's the other thing. I mean, I've been talking about on Twitter is the people who've gotten high on their own supply on the conservative side, and now they're doing things which there's going to be a backlash to the backlash. Like, this is what I think Peter Thiel. I think this is why Peter Thiel is talking about the Antichrist right now.
Fed.
What?
Fed.
He's a Fed?
Fed.
Okay. He may be the ultimate Fed in that he controls much of the government, but okay. Hello, Mr. Sartori.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
As the father to, is it 3 or 4 now, Jewish children?
It will be 4.
3.5 Jewish children. How do you feel about the rise of Nick Fuentes?
Not a fan. Not very good about it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a big problem just with the use of fear or being against something as the means of, you know, creating your audience or whatever. And we are definitely seeing like a big ping pong back and forth between like the conservatives and the boomer conservatives and the younger cohorts, and, you know, I don't know, conservative boomers, and then their liberal millennial kids and the conservative Gen Zers. And, you know, it's funny, like Paul, whatever, he was reading something from Kristen Dumas or whatever there, complaining about Doug Wilson. And I didn't leave the comment, but it's like, you are the only people that Doug Wilson has an influence on you and nobody else. Like the people that... Well, no. Well, oh yeah, that is true. That is true, and that's probably. But the thing is that the boogeyman that they imagine Doug Wilson to be, the only people that actually live, you know, I guess the people that more or less actually are live up to that is the more like the Fuentes fans. And of the ones that are, you know, Christians or whatever, like they see those who know of Doug Wilson, he's a soft old boomer that's weak on a bunch of issues. Like, it's just funny. So
yes, focusing on Doug Wilson is,
and it's
hilarious.
Daddy issues. It's daddy issues for these white women.
Oh, did you see the new meme about that new show on, I guess, Apple TV, the Savant? Have you heard about this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I wonder if I could play the Savant trailer, I would, but feel free to go. And it's based on a real story. So Apple TV came up with, yes, this is the Karen. Came up with a new show which hopes to be the next Handmaid's Tale, right? And
Yes, I've seen many of these memes. I didn't know where it came from.
so that's what I was wondering, and I found out. So a trailer came out for this show. So there was this woman who who works for the ADL doing research on extremism on the internet, and basically feeding information about internet extremism to the federal government. And they decided to turn it into like a video series, right? And what I commented on Twitter was the fact she's married to a black man was just the chef's kiss of that video is of the show, because it is like the Karen fantasy, right? She's married to this black man and she's got these multiracial kids and she's defending them on the internet by being, the savant, right? And it's just kind of hilarious in its stereotypicalness. Yeah.
So she's like an internet troll? Is that the premise?
No, the premise is she's super cop. That's the premise.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the premise is she's the one who's actually defending her family, because her husband doesn't eat, nobody knows about the secret life she has where she's pretending to be an internet, to go down into the depths of Gab and the Gestapo and uncover these plots and defend the nation against January 6th,
Yeah.
because even to the point that there's some reality to the story, it's like, oh, you mean ultimately you told a bunch of men about what was going on so they could actually go and really stop it? I didn't watch enough South Park to know who Randy Marsh is.
That's the dad.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm like 10 years behind on South Park, so I'm pretty much my marriage years behind on a lot of stuff.
I remember downloading the original South Park, which we had to download on dial-up. The original video. It took hours to get that 5-minute video downloaded. Yeah. Way back when. I'm guessing most of the people who know about South Park don't even know about the original South Park video, much less downloaded it themselves on dial-up.
I just want to put the thing there that I wanted to put when I first started listening to your stream. But yeah, I don't know. People are nuts. They're
yeah. Yeah, there's a reason I don't want to talk about that on the thing. Yeah. But yeah, it is what it is. So.
Yep.
So, how have things been with you? You're going to Southeastuary.
Yeah, I am.
You're going to meet Yosef in the flesh.
Yeah, that's one. I actually, I like, I like, I like the lineup of that one a lot more than the Midwest Trail lineup. Anyway, so
There are just so many people though, and it's like, I mean, I mean, I don't know how they're going to. I mean, here, this is all of the guest speakers. Like, I don't know who
So,
Esther Meek is.
so what I think what oh she's great. She writes books on epistemology, and they're very good. I think. So I
Okay.
think the plan is that every speech or whatever is going to be a dialogue between two people, from what I understand. So that cuts the thing in half, essentially.
Okay. I mean, actually, it doesn't seem as long as I kind of remembered it.
Yeah.
Jordan Wood, not a fan. Michael Martin, not a fan. Jordan Hall, not a fan.
Mhm.
JD Lionheart, don't know him. Nate, we don't really get along. I mean, it would be nice to see him though. Sherry, I mean, I love Sherry, but she's fun to hang around with. And she has poetry I like to listen to, but I've never like Sherry doesn't believe in giving like propositional speeches, so I don't know like how that would work. And my favorite was the fact that when you click on Yosef, it goes to the Grail Country web channel, because that's the channel that Yosef is most affiliated with.
He has his own channel. Why doesn't they?
He has his own channel, definitely. Yes. I'm thinking they just didn't. He never gave them his channel, and they just because it's Nate and then Sherry's. It just carried on to Yosef, and this makes him look so much more bald than he is. This picture, so
Okay. Well, I guess I'll find out.
I mean he is bald, but.
Yeah.
He actually, I mean, well, he does kind of the comb over thing, and he wears a yarmulke. I don't know why his yarmulke is so hidden in that one picture, but whatever. Yes.
Is that is the yarmulke size a humility thing, like the length of the coat or whatever?
So the funny thing, I mean, he wears a kippah sruga. He wears a knitted kippah, which identifies him with I'm not bald shaming him. Yosef, how old is Yosef? He's pretty young. I think he's around 30. But what was I saying about Yosef? Oh, the yarmulke. He wears a kippah sruga, which I mean, is supposedly identifying him with religious Zionism, but he wears very he doesn't wear like the white and blue kippah sruga, which is the hardcore religious Zionists, and I think he tries to keep things pretty neutral, but I mean. Wearing kippah sruga the way he does it is projects being part of the modern Orthodox. Yarmulke is spelled Y-A-R. Yes, there is an R in there for no good reason. M-U-L-K-E. Yeah.
It's like that other L in R in February or whatever.
Yeah, I think I don't even know how to spell it in Yiddish. But so in Yiddish, there's a there is a resh in Yiddish, but there's a false etymology of yarmulke stands for Yara da Malka, which in Aramaic means fear of the king, right? And so, but that's not the actual etymology, but that's like if you ask most people what is yarmulke, they're like, oh, it's Yaramalka. It's the fear of the king, and that's what it's supposed to symbolize. And it's like, yeah, that's not where Yiddish came from. Sorry. So now you know more about yarmulkes than most Jews.
Okay. Yeah. I am. Yeah. It was interesting. So I don't know if you saw it because you didn't go right to the Midwestary.
No, I went to Jason's wedding.
Oh yeah, right. Um, yeah. I mean, it was the rare thing where I was like, well, I actually agree with Jonathan Pajot and his not being afraid of the. Well, I mean, you know, obviously there's lots of reasons to be concerned about artificial intelligence and large language models and all that stuff. But
was it Vervaeke or Pajot or both who were like anti-LLM?
No, Vervaeke was, and Jonathan Pajot was like these. He was. I mean, you know, and to me, I was like, oh yeah, I agree. Like it's weird because he also has his weird things with the garments of skin or whatever. But basically, you know, he was saying that is the start of this supplementary or whatever. Like, you know, it is like the cyborg thing. Like we do as humans incorporate these outside things into ourselves, and it's a good thing when it's directed to the purpose of God. So did you see the PVK stream today, his live stream? Okay, well I was on there.
Oh, I saw the live stream. Yeah, I thought you were talking about his
no. Oh yeah. So he talked about that. He played the clip from Midwestray in his morning video or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just like all about, like all this reproductive, and this is what I think people don't get, like the whole thing with the reproductive stuff, like there's like a small portion, and it's obviously it's the politicized aspect of it that people are like wanting to push it for like all the freaky stuff you could possibly do. But what actually drives it, like where the actual money comes from, is people who want to have kids and realize like we didn't know we were supposed to start when we were very young. We didn't realize that it's harder when you get older or whatever. Like, because it's like IVF is still 90% heterosexual couples, you know, and most of them married, and you know, and for most people, like the preference is that they use as much of their own stuff as possible. Like and so it's like people in practice are following what seems to me to be the most biblical way that you would start using these things. You know, there's very few people that are like, oh yay, surrogacy, now I don't have to lose my figure. Like that's like a tiny percentage of rich weirdos in Hollywood or whatever. You know, it's not most of the people that are doing that stuff. So and so it's like, but they're the ones that are doing it. They're willing to make these mistakes, and by and large, like especially like with the Catholic positions are so like rigid and stuff that they just will have no influence in what happens. All they can do is oppose it, and so they won't have like, you know, because if you think if there's better and worse ways of doing things, then you should try to be involved so you can steer the conversation. But if you just oppose it, you know, it's like the Acts 5 thing, I think, really. If it's like God can send thunderbolts anytime he wants to stop people from doing the stuff that's wrong. But if he's not, you know, it's because he's capable of working it into his plans for good.
So one of the things I have found myself saying over and over to Christians, because it really, I think, exemplifies the difference between how rabbis imagine things and how a lot of Christians do, which is better is better than worse, and worse is worse than better. Like there,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of Christians who don't believe in that, right?
Yeah.
And my prototypical example, I have actually more than once, more than one couple um, set up uh, set up gay men on dates, and people would be like, "Oh, um, you're sanctioning, you're giving sanction to whatchamacallit, to sinful relationships," and it's like, but these are people who now are having random sex with random people, um, and I think that's worse. And better
Mhm.
is better than worse, and worse is worse than better, right?
Yeah.
Um, and like I was actually talking in a conversation with a Catholic priest, not Father Eric. Nobody would know who the Catholic priest is, and he's like, "No, that's not acceptable. Like, there's no saying, you're supposed to be celibate, and so there's no saying, hey, I find myself actually like acting out in these ways which are completely unacceptable. This is, and it was like, yeah, this is a theological difference. I mean, I don't know that any rabbi would ever say it isn't better for um, for people who are sexually active gay men to like be monogamous as opposed to not, right? And
Yeah.
this was the original. The original gay marriage used to be very controversial in the gay community because they were like, "You're trying to domesticate us," and they were opposed to it.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, and that's the thing is like, and I even think, the more like science try, this is even the thing of like science is going to be like, because it's been ideologically captured or whatever. There's been a lot of bad of the thing of like, oh, basically, humans are like, there's no morality to it, so let's do a bunch of experiments. But the way these things are going to turn out, it's like, no, first of all, you're finding that like the normative thing of like heterosexuality and monogamy is like the, it's it works for a purpose, but but there is this kind of fluid aspect of this stuff where the percentage of people that like are attracted to the same sex with no like negative relationship with their parents or exposure to some form of abuse or any of that stuff is very very small. And it could be, and can be, I think probably there are factors like hormonal things and stuff like that. That seems likely that could be something that is also something you could, if you studied it, maybe you could determine, oh, we should not use XYZ or whatever if you want to get rid of it. So like if you take away the one variable of like who's getting married to who, but you put all the other standards in place, no sex before marriage, no infidelity, all these things, like you're just gonna probably have way less. You'd have way less gay people even getting married than whatever it is now. Like the opposition to the harsh opposition, the opposition where it's like we can't even talk about it or whatever, that makes it like, because this is what we were talking about today, and the thing, like when you make it a taboo that you can't talk about, then it becomes this thing that's appealing for all sorts of other reasons. So people actually are going to be more inclined, because there's a lot of people that experiment with that and then they don't, it's not a permanent life thing, whatever. But you've made it more appealing by forbidding it. So
Did you see Chazi's video for this week?
No, no.
It would blow, I think, most Christians' minds, and he talks about this stuff from what is actually, I would say, a somewhat uncontroversial rabbinic view. But I think most Christians who would listen to his video would be like, WTF is he saying? What are these rabbis discussing? What?
Yeah.
Like it yeah, it would absolutely blow their minds.
I think I'm going to jump off because the kids are home. So I'll talk to you another time.
Thank you for jumping on. Yeah. Let's see what people have been saying. I'm eating cashews, if you must know. It better be herring and crackers. Am I Ashkenazi? There are many ways God can create a sacred life. Yeah. Cal says it's so interesting how Christianity and Judaism is so split on these types of things. Yeah, Chezi likes to talk about how the Israeli government will pay for IVF for 2 kids for people who need it. And I don't think he realizes how offensive some Christians find that. They're like, because he just automatically thinks, obviously, this is a good thing. Aren't all humans ultimately created by God? Better question. Isn't Satan ultimately created by God? For all we know, the next coming of Christ will be as a Down syndrome baby which managed to evade IVF screening. I mean, we can't know how God works in his mysterious ways. I think IVF screening is against Down syndrome is one of the most disgusting practices people engage in. And I realize as parents, the idea of having a Down syndrome child is very, very, it's a real concern. And I can imagine being like, I don't want to have a Down syndrome child. At the same time, we don't understand how, as a society, we can allow that. Technology is fine. Transhumanism is bad. Maybe you were joking, but I agree on. I have no idea who Bull Loves Bird is. Salted or unsalted? I believe unsalted. Doesn't say. This one. Unsalted. There it is. Unsalted. I could read it when it was backward. I didn't see it when it was... I guess I was trying to be healthy. I would assume a Shote wouldn't qualify for the Messiah. I don't know if the Ben Melech is a Shote. Does he get kicked? Does he get skipped over for Melech? Ask somebody who knows their Mishnah Torah well, like John Sidwell. You're back.
I had to. Your chat was getting
Yeah.
real anxious.
People were like, "Is he even breathing?" That was hilarious.
They're getting stirred up, and I had to break the tension.
I was reading an article. So.
Yeah, your eyes were moving, but otherwise there was no indication that you weren't frozen completely. So I've only got a minute, but I wanted to just ask, and maybe I can just bail after I ask. So you use X pretty regularly, right? Like you're pretty active on it and stuff, right? I mean, when I go to when I go to X, and I'm not super active, so I don't have like a heavy following list where like the following thread is like, it's not gonna there's no doom scrolling there because it doesn't take very long to get through that. So the
Mhm.
For You thread though is a cesspool. So what's the best way to use Twitter but avoid that cesspool of like, I don't want to see this guy die. I don't need to see her boobs, like, all that kind of stuff, right? There's all that situation going on. Do you have to just aggressively be like, don't show me that kind of stuff, don't show me that kind of stuff, and then
You know what the actual best way, not that I do it, is?
yeah,
Create a list of the accounts you want to read
yeah,
and just look at the list.
okay, but that requires discipline and self-control is what you're basically recommending there, doctor. Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say. I spend way too much time on Twitter. My excuse is that I use Twitter kind of as a news feed because
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think, I mean, time I used to spend on news.google.com, now I just go to Twitter.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, even this article that I just found, like it's, I got it from the Twitter For You tab, which
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't be paying attention to, but
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
I certainly don't follow Steve Inskeep, but
Sure. Yeah. Steve Inskeep. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
oh, I have to say, the defunding of NPR by itself, like for 20 years, I have been waiting for NPR to be defunded. Oh my god.
You remember its yard site now? So yeah, yes. I mean, sometimes I scroll through the For You and I'm just like, is this what everybody sees who doesn't have like, real personalization, or am I a bad person? Just like,
Look, algorithms are a problem, and the idea that both Jack, whatever his last name is, and Elon Musk supposedly endorsed of allowing people to create all algorithms and allowing people to choose, like allowing it like there to be an API of okay, you create whatever algorithm you want and go ahead and engage with our databases based on that algorithm.
yeah,
The problem with that is monetizing it.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I came on to ask about. I
yeah.
now will have to go back to regular dad life. So,
Have fun with your kids.
yeah, shalom, Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom. Why is it wrong to avoid having a Down syndrome child? Elaborate, please. Okay, so from a societal standpoint, maximizing for any one thing in the gene pool is just a horribly bad idea, right? If you are selectively aborting children with Down syndrome, I think that has serious effects on the on the gene pool. I mean, I think geneticists, like, eugenics is bad, and this is an example of eugenics. There is the secondary thing of, like, it's not absolutely clear that the testing mechanism doesn't also have some sort of bad effect, and etc. But when it comes down to it spiritually, like Down syndrome kids, like people with Down syndrome generally have okay lives. Yeah, they don't live a full spectrum of life. They don't live, but like Down syndrome is not even close to being one of the worst possible things you can have. And people with Down syndrome, especially mild forms of it, can actually be quite, much more productive uh, than I have been. I mean, that's not quite true, but yeah. Um, I'm not sure the net negative I've been in the world. I hope the net negative I've been in. The net positive impact I have had on the world is more than someone with fewer intellectual capabilities. But who knows? Yeah. There are certainly people without Down syndrome who have contributed less to humanity than people with Down syndrome. So like it's not a question of like this, like avoiding Tay-Sachs. Yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. Avoiding some other genetic abnormalities which can be pretty gruesome and horrible. Yeah, that makes sense. Down syndrome. I've met adults with Down syndrome who live perfectly fine lives and seem perfectly nice people, and that's what makes it the most horrific. But yeah, I learned what a Shabbos goy is today from a female Israeli. Yeah, don't believe everything people say. I can't figure out how to ask my question without possibly offending Yosef. Uh, okay. Not sure what you're talking about. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I have to say the cover by that. What's the cover? The famous cover, I think is better than the original. Also, X makes me angry with 5 minutes, and I really need to stop going there. Okay. Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Young God. There's a reason I generally still call it Twitter, is because X isn't really very descriptive. Say hi, Shadow. What was Chazi's video? Chazi's video. Let me find Chazi's video and link it. Where is the links? Or did he put it in hides of JPS? Where does he put it in Torah? Where did Chazi put his video? It's on his channel. Where is Chazi's video? You can tell I have too many channels on. That's not where I put it. On my Discord when I can't find Chazi's video. You know what I could do is I could search for Chazi and find out. He did put it in links, but more people, a bunch of other people put stuff in links afterwards. So it is where I was first looking. It's only 8 minutes long. Do you guys want to watch Chazi's video? Let's watch Chazi's video. We are going to watch Chazi's video. And here's the link to Chazi's video. Oops, no, that's not the link to Chazi's video. Where is the link to Chazi's video? There's the link to Chazi's video, and we can watch Chazi's video Let's guess what Jacob is reading, watching. If you said an article from ProPublica, you would be correct. Something about Nick Fuentes had nothing to do with Nick Fuentes. How dare you trade an onomatopoeia? Same thing. People who refuse to stop calling it Twitter either have a big problem with change or really hate Elon Musk. I mean, if people want to call it X, they can call it X. I just don't see any reason to call it X. I had dark Twitter days too, not going back to hell again. X is a dumb name. Yes, that is why we're here. Well, I would spell it that way. That would make it more something you could actually like tell people. Luke says these are my favorite parts of Jacob's streams. Apparently, busy comments, quite quiet. Jacob, yeah. When he looks pissed, staring straight ahead. I looked pissed. Pissed? Was I pissed? I wasn't really pissed. Jacob.exe is running in the background. He should do a split screen so we can see and pretend we're doing things together. Bro, is he even breathing? I can see his eyes move, but wowza, his heart rate must be like 6. Yet another Minesweeper moment. The gang will know I was not playing Minesweeper. Jacob gets mad when we don't call in, and we cower away in the chat. I don't. I actually don't. This is Jacob just judging us. Pulled my finger. Okay, Chad. How's Caroline doing? Self-control works. The algorithm shows you more of what you engage with. Don't they have a feed like TikTok where you only see the followed stuff? I think they do. Do we all allow Downs people to reproduce? Oh, so I had a friend. I think it's fine for me to say this. I had a friend. I will try to keep this vague. Who I was friends with for a long time, and then I saw a picture of him and his sister with an older woman who had Down's syndrome, and I was like, "Who's that?" Because I did know most of his family on his father's side, and he said my mom, and then didn't say much more, and that was yeah, like the fact that his dad, who did not have Downs, had impregnated and then married and then impregnated again somebody who did have Downs. But yeah, we never actually discussed it much. He and his sister were, I wouldn't say perfectly normal, but as normal as everyone else. And great people. And I would have a very hard time saying that I wish they never existed. And that's all I'm going to say about that for now. So have the child, but she won't be able to reproduce. Nature's eugenics. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. was just imagining the other day being the placenta in the belly and having an afterlife with the baby. That would be weird. The Disturbed cover. Yes, I think it is the Disturbed cover. Yes, Shadow is a quick cutie. Lol, Jacob, just say he'd be more productive with an extra chromosome. Okay. Where were we? We were going to. Shadow, you're blocking my screen. Shadow, you're blocking my screen. Yeah. Yes, my friend did not have an extra chromosome. His mother did. Where were we? Okay. We were going to watch Fezzi's video.
Hello all, I hope you're all doing well. We are continuing with our weekly portion review, and this week we are in the portion of Ki Tetzeh. When you, well in Hebrew it's Ki Tetzeh L'Milchama, when you go out to war. And this portion really contains more commandments, more mitzvot than any other portion in the Torah. There is, I believe, over 70 commandments, and it really covers most areas of life. And it's the laws of war, and it moves on to family life and business ethics, compassion, of course, to the weak, and really trying to figure out where we have or stressing the idea of holiness in everyday life. What I wanted to focus on today and explore is with regards to the laws of war and this idea of Yafat Tor, which is a beautiful captive woman. And does the Torah really desire that a man take this beautiful captive woman? Because if you read the text, it seems that this is what the Torah is permitting. Now, Rabbi Cook, who you all heard me mention very often, he teaches that when the Torah actually permits something that seems to align with the evil inclination, it's actually doing so to weaken its power, right? So from the really, and we all know this, from the moment something is no longer strictly forbidden, it really loses much of its seductive pull, right? The second we say it's fine. And now the Talmud asks, what would a person do if he actually feels this desire that's
So, just to be clear, and apparently Dawn knows the exact number, 74. Well, it depends on who's counting, but I'm guessing Maimonides counting. So Rashi explains what I would say is the classic view, which is that the Torah realizes that simply prohibiting the act would not work in a natural manner, and that the various rituals are meant to act as a cooling off period to prevent a person from actually doing the act in the I just understood what Jonathan was saying, which was very different from how I first understood what he was saying. So, yeah, which is like already way out there for Christians, but like what Rav Kook is saying, I don't know if it's that different from what I think he's explicating on Rashi, not so much saying something different.
overwhelming him, and he doesn't want to sin. Now, one of the rabbis advises and says that he needs to go to a place where no one knows his name, and he needs to wear black and cover himself in black, which, by the way, this is where we also notice that black and white wasn't the actual original Jewish garbs. But I digress. Nevertheless,
Because Chezi just has to stick that in.
he goes to this place, and then he does whatever he wants in this place. As long as no one sees him do it and no one knows him, then he's not actually desecrating God's name publicly, because they won't necessarily associate him with a Jew. Now, Rashi, the commentator, explains that even if he ultimately sins, again, the idea is that he's not causing this desecration. Now, there's of course another opinion, Tosfot, another commentary, actually Rashi's grandson. He actually insists that we can't say that the Torah is permitting someone to.
Tosfot isn't just one grandson. It is a commentary by a school of commentators, many of whom were directly descended from Rashi.
Sin. Rather, the act of going in black and hiding away will break his spirit until he ultimately he will refrain from actually committing the sin altogether. Right, putting himself in this space, in this mode, both physically and mentally, will keep him away from doing bad things. So we have to ask which is correct. And as I'm sure you're all used to, the answer is a synthesis. Both are true. Right? The advice that is given actually follows Rashi, right? But the outcome is what the Tosfot is describing. So how do we see this? When a person is actually told that it's permitted to go do as you wish, right? Like we said, suddenly the responsibility is shifted onto him. And he has to step back and ask himself, can it really be that I'm going to commit such a horrible thing? And the answer is no way. Right? The moment the evil inclination is legitimized, like we say, the grip becomes much weaker. And ultimately, this temptation vanishes. And from this perspective, the Torah doesn't want us to take a beautiful captive woman as our wife, right? We don't want that to happen. Now, Rashi also cites the sages that if a man does so, he'll ultimately hate her. And they'll end up creating a tremendous amount of tension in his life, and it could lead to rebellious children and wayward sons, and that itself is going to be his punishment. But the Torah is actually using here a very specific tactic, right? It's granting a temporary permission as a way to actually defeat the desire itself, right? And in this sense, it's diffusing it. Now, there's another rare dimension, though, that we should discuss as well. There's a very holy rabbi named Or HaChaim, the light of life, and he explains.
Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, I believe the Chaim's real name is.
That a soldier who actually went to war at these times wasn't your average person, right? We're talking about these were righteous, pure, untainted by the evil inclination. These were very, very righteous individuals. And when they see
Chaim ibn Attar,
a beautiful woman among the captives, what they're actually perceiving is the holy sparks that have fallen into, in this case, the Canaanite nations. And we've spoken about this in previous portions about the Canaanite and the Moabites and how we are supposed to find them and assist in their rectification. So out of this deep desire to elevate those holy sparks back to its source, he takes her as a wife. And what we're seeing over here, what would appear to ordinary people like us as ultimately a concession of lust, a concession to lust that the Torah is giving over here, it's actually flipped on its head, right? Because in the hands of the righteous person, this actually becomes a profound spiritual elevation. And in this sense, the captive woman, the beautiful captive woman, isn't actually a trap of temptation, but a vessel towards redemption. Now, and I've been doing this in the last few weeks, just really reflecting about, how this connects to us in our day-to-day life, which, when the Torah is reflecting about these principles, we can't ignore that the painful reality of the war in Israel that we're facing today. And the Torah's discussion about this beautiful captive woman, and specifically the laws of war, really is there to remind us of the profound truth that war ultimately unleashes the rawest desires and the darkest instincts in human beings. War is horrible. And history is filled with examples of armies that were plundering and would desecrate and abuse, and all under the banner of conquest, ultimately. And I would say this is, in essence, Israel's moral struggle today. Even under these unbearable pressures of our enemies who are attacking civilians without any mercy, Israel continues to wrestle with the ethical weight of every action that we do. Right? The world often misjudges us or condemns us, But in truth, this is the fulfillment of the Torah's vision, right? It's not to allow the evil inclination to free reign, and it's to channel and restrain it and to act with holiness even during these foggy times of war. And the message of the beautiful captive woman is not that it's about an ancient battlefield, but it's actually speaking directly to Israel, calling in our generation. This is what our calling is, right? The Jewish people are tasked with proving that morality doesn't vanish even in war, that the sanctity of Hashem can survive even in the harshest trials. And the elevation of these sparks, right, is the ultimate purpose of battle, right? Which is, this is what remains our guiding light. We are not looking to destroy. We are looking to build. We are looking to rectify. Please, God, inshallah, we'll be able to do it with our brothers and sisters from the Muslim religion as well. I'm wishing us all a Shabbat Shalom. Take care.
I have a half-baked theory about the word key and when the Torah uses it for situations that the Torah doesn't endorse. Found a Rashi in Rosh Hashanah that looks promising. Interesting. I mean, there is the thing of key being of or but. Yeah, I think that I remember there was a Rashi. I mean, Rosh Hashanah is the only Gemara I ever actually learned. That was the one we learned Bekias in the year I was in yeshiva. And if I do remember, there's a Rashi that says there's 4 different ways key is used. Yeah, Chazi is definitely misnagid. Well, Chazi, for anyone for that matter, I don't wish you to see the bodies that fall under any war. Amen. I am going to go back to being silent, and I have no idea why there's 10 of you watching me be silent, but apparently you are. Is that actually Neil? I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it. Well, doesn't seem like. Oh, he was here for a second. Let's see. What are people saying? It's like meditation. It's relaxing. It is Neil. Hey, Neil.
Hello, sorry, camera malfunction. Hold on. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you even better than I could before.
Okay, wrong microphone. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Took me a few days to settle back to normal patterns of behavior post-Midwestuary, but I feel like that's been the case for many people that I've talked to.
Yeah, I'm trying. Like the trip was exhausting, and I still haven't gotten into normal life. Of course, I drove and then driving back, so it took me a bit longer to get back than you guys. I didn't. I went to the wedding in Colorado, and I didn't go straight there and come straight back. So yeah.
Any cool stops on the way or back?
Kind of, sort of, not really. I stopped in Salt Lake City again, which I did the first Chicago estuary meeting. So I decided to do it again, and I got to meet. His name is actually escaping me right now, but like he's a Mormon scholar of Islam actually, but also like early Second Temple stuff. And I have to email him and ask him to come on because he said he might actually come on my channel, which would be cool. But let me see if I can find this.
How do Mormons view Islam? I know nothing about that.
Good question. So Mormons take credit for and are not completely crazy in taking credit for starting Christian Zionism. They were very instrumental and active in like the Balfour, even at the time, like I think they jumped on after the Balfour declaration, but like very early on, one of their like leaders got involved in that, and so they tend to be very, very much along with dispensationalists in their view of Israel, and I think that colors their view of Islam in a way that's a little black and whitish, if you understand what I mean. So, which is, I think, maybe a little not the best thing in the world, but yeah. So I don't actually know, like, yeah. Daniel Carl Peterson is the scholar, and I'd seen. I mean, like, I had bumped in, like when we bumped into him, the person I was with. So he's a professor of Islamic Studies and Arabic at BYU, and when we, the person I was with, recognized him, and I recognized him, but I didn't like know his name and stuff. But I was like, "Hey, famous BYU professor, let me ask you if you'll come on my channel." And he's aware of Father Stephen DeYoung. So
In BYU, it's okay if you don't know anything about this, but I'm just curious if BYU is affected by the same trends of the rest of the American university system over the past, decade, 2 decades.
What do you mean?
What percentage of BYU staff would be considered practicing LDS? What percent would, like social conservatism, etc.?
Very, very much a similar dynamic to Calvin University, where they are expected to hold on to, be members in good standing of the LDS. Many of them are have veered off, and but at the same time, I mean, part of the thing is, Adams Fall says most BYU professors are practicing LDS. They are, but so a lot of the students, if not basically every student, they don't have to be LDS. I thought they did. But like the students at BYU are people who come back from their mission and tend to be many of the most devout members of the LDS. At the same time, they can also be, so LDS does have the problem of cradle Catholicism, of people who are like, oh, well, my great-great-grandfather was Joseph Smith's best friend, therefore I define the LDS. So I've definitely seen a lot of the exact same dynamics as you see with Calvin University and the Dutch. Is Alvin Plantinga more or less CRC than Mo Pacheco?
It's a good question. We're going to find out in a few hundred years.
I think it's pretty clear. I think we already found out. I mean, didn't they make that T-shirt? I'm more CRC than Alvin Plantinga.
That was on the back of our Midwestuary shirt.
I think Abide actually made that T-shirt. I don't know if you know that line from the. You didn't follow the stuff as much as the rest of us.
I'm not on CRC Voices. It feels like it's not my fight. It's not my people. So
I'm not on CRC Voices, but my channel's become kind of a CRC Synod chat thing. Like I felt obligated to have live streams, even though I had other things to do during the week of Synod, because so many people were participating in the discussions, including people at Synod. So
the reason I came on, it's not the only reason, but you tend to have a sense of news in areas that the rest of the corner is not paying attention to. So I wanted to ask you if you've been following, like how much do you keep up with economic news, jobs reports, unemployment rates, inflation rates? Do you keep up with any of that? Not really.
So I have an economics channel on my Discord server. I think economics is incredibly important. That's why, for example, Marcus Shera, I very much appreciate his involvement when he has time. The thing is, I think we are pretty much agreed that macroeconomics, he can't agree as much as I do, since obviously he's a professor of economics, but I think macroeconomics is tomfoolery right now. I hope it will one day advance to being some sort of a science. But as it exists, I think macroeconomics is just, it might as well be weather predicting from 200 years ago, meaning, Ben Franklin's almanac was not useless, but it's like people forecasting the weather, I think, is very similar. So I very much care about economics, but I'm a lot more agnostic than most people are.
Okay. Or would you say you don't have much faith in the tools that we currently have for measuring and predicting at a macro level?
It's even worse than that. I don't think you're aware that I consider Eric Weinstein a friend. And Eric, I actually met Paul for the first time on Eric Weinstein's Discord server in the voice chat. But a while ago.
Paul was in Eric Weinstein's Discord server. That's quite something. Yeah.
This is the early things of like.
I did actually know already that you came into TLC from Eric Weinstein's Discord server. I'm just very surprised to hear that Paul was on.
Was in the voice chat?
Well, no. I mean, I know he's been on voice chats very occasionally, but
on Eric Weinstein's
to go to Eric Weinstein's voice chat.
Yes. That is where I first actually spoke with Paul Vanderlei, was in Eric Weinstein's voice chat. And I generally agree with a lot of the criticisms which Eric has, which is he believes, and this may sound conspiratorial, but he has been very loud about the CPI hacking, consumer price index hacking, ever since his wife's. So his wife actually works for a Soros funded foundation as an economist. She got her PhD in economics while he was doing his PhD in math, and he worked on her dissertation. And yeah, so it's even worse. So like I've been paying attention mostly to what's been going on in terms of BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and Trump firing the head of BLS and the new person who's just appointed. But at the when it comes down to it, have you heard of Soros's idea of reflexivity?
Rings a bell, but no, I don't know what it is.
So this is his basic contribution, other than all of his.
I know he made a ton of money on arbitrage.
Yeah,
like this was back in the 80s, but
he talks about how people mistakenly did not view the market as reflexive, meaning when you buy stock, you are actually bringing the price up by buying it, right? So there's you affect what you're doing, and the people who are on the Fed, for example, Federal Reserve, it doesn't matter if what they're saying is bullshit. The fact they say it affects economies, right?
But in general, the stock market is it's anticipating roughly 6 months out. I mean, that's a crude approximation, but the value of the stock market at any given point in time is reflective of a future state of economic affairs versus the present state.
That's definitely true. But it's also reflective of things that are not fundamental, right? There are things that stock prices reflect which have nothing to do with reality.
The way I would describe it And this is an area I actually know more than you would think about. I'll just put it that way. But if you think of the underlying real, whatever real is, the real value of a company, of a firm, as a car driving down a highway, and then it's dragging a ball and chain behind it, and the ball and chain is bouncing all over the place. Now, it is actually connected to the car. Inevitably, it's connected to the car. But the length of the chain changes, and it can get really long, and it's bouncing all over the place. And in some periods of time, the ball is like very steadily just kind of scraping the grass along the side of the road. And other points of time, it's do, 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 do. And yeah. And I think that chain is a lot longer right now than it's been in the past. And I think it's trending in a particular direction much more than in the past. But
What do you mean?
look at price to earning ratios compared to where they are now compared to historical norm. But I apologize. I got to go. My family just arrived. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Family is more important than this stuff, but yeah, you got me thinking. So price to earnings.
look at historical PE ratios. Price to earnings is the ratio of how much a company actually makes to what it's valued at. Look at the historical ratio. So, all right, got to drop.
Okay. Okay, let's see what he's left us with. Historical PE ratios. Macro trends. Historical PE ratios. Let's do 30 years. Ooh, it was really high. It's gone back up. Let's do 5 years. Dipped in 2002. Over the past year, I mean, how slowly is he? I mean, since April 2025, there was a dip, but it's only back to August. I'm not sure what he's saying here. Because I mean, that's 10-year. I mean, still above what it was back then. 20 years. Yeah, that was the financial crisis. 30 years. All years. Oof. We're still way above what it was back before the 80s. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's saying here, but Adam graduated from BYU. Way more conservative than Calvin. Okay. But there's been some liberalization like all universities. I mean, I'm thinking of the people who were excommunicated, the professors. When was that? When BYU professors. The September 6th. That was it. September 6th. Here. We'll talk about the September 6th. The September 6th were 6 members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who were excommunicated or disfellowshipped by the church in September 1993, allegedly for publishing scholarly work against or criticizing church doctrine or leadership. The term September 6th, coined by the Salt Lake Tribune, was used in the media and is in subsequent discussion. The church's actions were referred to by some as evidence of anti-intellectual posture on the part of church leaders. Lynn Cannavale Whitesides was a Mormon feminist and was noted for speaking on the Mother in Heaven. Whitesides was the first of the group to experience church discipline and was disfellowshipped September 14th, 1993. Though technically still a member, Whitesides stated that she exploded out of the church and her marriage in 1993 and considered herself a practitioner of Native American philosophies. She died from pneumonia in July 7th, 2025. Avraham Gileadi is a Hebrew scholar and literary analyst who is considered theologically conservative. Before his 1981 PhD in ancient studies from Brigham Young University, he published a new interpretive translation of the Book of Isaiah in 1988 and a study of its eschatological prophecies in 1991. Mormon scholars, including Hugh Nibley, Truman Madsen, and Ellis Rasmussen, praised his work, but his argument that the Isaiah prophecies pointed to a human Davidic king who would emerge in the last days, apart from Jesus Christ, was controversial, and his second book was pulled from the shelves by its proper publisher, church-owned Deseret Books. I went and looked at like the main flagship Deseret bookstore. It was interesting. The reasons for his excommunication on September 15th are unclear. Which reminds me, there's that book that the lady recommended to me, which I never actually took a look at. In the Language of Adam. It's a new book that just came out. Reading scripture. Unveil the mysteries in the scriptures. Apparently, it sold out very quickly. Doesn't say much. Just has a buy now thing. Where's the Nephi puts us on notice in his very first sentence that the Book of Mormon was written by temple worshippers and for temple worshippers. He and the other prophets of the Book of Mormon, who called themselves the visionary men and peaceable followers of Christ, knew and practiced a mystery, an ordinance by which they ascended through the temple and entered into the presence of God. This entrance ordinance was embodied in a dramatic representation of the expulsion of Adam and Eve from Eden and their return to it. The drama expressed the great doctrines of the visionary men. The Nephite prophets used the sights, experiences, etc. Where? Let me see if I can find. Here, let's see what Google. But let's see what the review. This is the AI-generated Amazon review. Customers find the book adds richness to scripture study, helping them gain new understandings. They appreciate its readability and beautiful writing style, with one customer highlighting the symbolic language of visionary men of God. The book receives positive feedback for its content. Nibley established the Book of Mormon as an ancient text. Jack Welch found Hebraic poetic structures in the book. Margaret Barker introduced us to the Deuteronomists and confirmed that the time period that the book was written was around 600 BC. Yeah, not sure I believe that. In this book, Dave Butler, illustrates how Deuteronomists believed and acted in Lehi's day. He also shows how the visionary men preserved the plain and precious truth of the Gospels. Despite the Deuteronomists' best efforts to remove them, along the way he established what those plain and previous truths are. This is a powerful book with marvelous extras that broaden the insights provided in the text. It is the beginning of the new phase, of the next phase in Book of Mormon studies. It is a book that redefines the boundaries of gospel study. Yeah. Interesting. The Kindle version is only $10. How many pages is it? 303 pages. Let's talk about how BRICS is going to isolate what's left of the petrodollar. For the public, predicting, those in the know already control how things are going to develop. Quantum finance means sometimes you are both broke and rich at the same time. I don't know. I mean, did Soros call it? I think he called it reflexive. Soros reflexivity and economics. A brief. In economics, I'm reading from Wikipedia. Economic philosopher George Soros, influenced by ideas put forward by his tutor Karl Popper, has been an active promoter of the relevance of reflexivity to economics, first propounding it publicly in his 1987 book, The Alchemy of Finance. He regards his insights into market behavior from applying the principle as a major factor in the success of his financial career. Reflexivity is inconsistent with general equilibrium theory, which stipulates that markets move towards equilibrium and that non-equilibrium fluctuations are merely random noise that will soon be corrected. In equilibrium theory, prices in the long run at equilibrium reflect the underlying economic fundamentals, which are unaffected by prices. Reflexivity asserts that prices do in fact influence the fundamentals, and that these newly influenced sets of fundamentals then proceed to change expectations, thus influencing prices. The process continues in a self-reinforcing pattern. Because the pattern is self-reinforcing, markets tend towards disequilibrium. Sooner or later, they reach a point where the sentiment is reversed and negative expectations become self-reinforcing in the downward direction, thereby explaining the familiar pattern of boom and bust cycles. An example of Soros cites is the pro-cyclical nature of lending, that is, the willingness of banks to ease lending standards for real estate loans when prices are rising, then raising standards when real estate prices are falling, reinforcing the boom and bust cycle. He further suggests that property price inflation is essentially a reflexive phenomenon. House prices are influenced by the sums that banks are prepared to advance for their purchase, and these sums are determined by the bank's estimation of the price that the property would command. Soros has often claimed that his grasp of the principle of reflexivity is what has given him his edge, and that is the major factor contributing to his success as a trader. For several decades, there was little sign of the principle being accepted in mainstream economic circles, but there has been an increase of interest following the crash of 2008, with academic journals, economists, and investors discussing his theories. Economists and further columnists of the Financial Times, Anatoly Kaletsky, argued that Soros's concept of reflexivity is useful in understanding China's economy and how the Chinese government manages it. In 2009, Soros funded the launch of the Institute for New Economic Thinking with the hope that it would develop reflexivity further. The Institute works with several types of heterodox economics, particularly the post-Keynesian branch. Is that where Pia Milani works? Pia Milani works at the Institute for New Economic Thinking. Yep. That is Eric's wife. Okay. Wait, he wrote a book about Mashiach ben David? That's it? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Hey guys, I'm going to do a magic trick. Watch as I change the 0 likes into 1 like. Ta-da! Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was planning on going until Mark's stream. Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Jewish Annotated New Testament. If I'm thinking of the right one by Jill something something. I hope I have her name right. It's very interesting. I've been meaning and wanting to read it myself. I think it's exceptionally interesting to Christians though. Young God, you are a liar. That's for sure. Amy Jill Levine, yeah. Um, Hi, Denise. No, it is just nobody joined, so um, I don't like sitting here talking to myself, so I don't monologue much. And Shadow's more popular than I am anyway. This is Shadow. She's a sweetheart. Shadow's gone. She might be back. We'll see. I am only going for another 20 minutes because that's when Mark's stream starts. He is talking about the consequences. What do you don't know? Just what are consequences? Why do we not understand this topic? Often things happen and we think they are some emergent property of the world, but in fact, they are consequences of some other action. Not all consequences are bad, not all are good. Discerning the difference is the key. So there you go. There's his thing on consequences. You can really freak her out if you tell her Shadow's full name. Sure. Where is the... There's the link. You are welcome to join. Shadow's full name is Shadow of Death, and that is the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Get it? The Valley of the Shadow of Death. Shadow has decided she prefers being on camera to me. Huh. That's weird. You were able to join my stream before. Well, we didn't stream, but you were able to join the studio before. Not sure what would have changed there. There you are. Hello.
Yeah, I had to go use my Facebook to log in.
I see.
Excuse me, I never use Facebook anymore. And I couldn't delete my old page, you know, they make it difficult. So I renamed it as Dona Wanna Be Here. And I put a picture of Wile E. Coyote flattened on the road. And I deleted everything. So now, but it turns out it's a good thing because for some reason it's telling me my YouTube channel doesn't exist, which I looked at it, it's still there. It just, but who knows?
On Monday, you used your YouTube channel?
Yeah, didn't I?
I don't know.
I'm sure I did because that's the only one I use when somebody requires a sign in.
Mhm.
That, and I used the same device here, my same phone. Let me go turn my fan off. Probably messing up the audio. Okay, it's off.
How have you been? How does the crafting go?
Oh, I've been good. I'm pretty tired because at the beginning of the month I had to go run all my errands in the heat, and that was interesting. And today I'm just resting. I bought a watermelon and I made a big batch of fruit salad. But the watermelon, you know,
sounds nice. I might buy one. I have to go shopping today.
well, the only ones they had are those seedless ones, and they're not as good as the really big old ones, you know? They're not as sweet. So what I had to do was cut it up for fruit salad and put it in a bowl and sprinkle sugar and let it sit overnight. So today it tasted very sweet, but I had to help it out a little bit because, and the same thing is true with the cantaloupes. They pick them too early so that they can put them in the store, but cantaloupes don't ripen on the shelf like bananas do, you know? If you pick them too early, they just don't get sweet.
Huh.
The best way to get it is if you can find somebody who's selling them off a truck that they just picked them that morning. But that's not so easy either. You don't find those farmer trucks so much anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't buy. I mean, I generally try to stay away from things that are too sweet because they're not good for me. But I love fruit. I could eat fruit.
Mm.
Forever. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, naturally sweet is good. That's why I cheated by putting the sugar on, but I felt kind of cheated by the watermelon when I finally got it home and cut it open, and like it wasn't worth it.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
But
Yeah, I also have to do laundry. I haven't done my laundry. Yeah. You reminded me. I have to do laundry.
oh, you could set up out on outside and do it like I do.
No way. Are you kidding? Around here? Well, I mean, I
mean-
have a balcony, but like, there's no wind around here, and it's very humid outside here. Where I live is very humid.
Oh,
I'm about 5 miles from the beach here, so yeah, it's very
yeah.
yeah.
I'm blessed by having that sea breeze coming in all the time. It's a really strong one too. You have to put extra clothespins on to keep the clothes on the line. In fact, I made a convert of one of my neighbors. He said now that he started doing this, his shirts and everything smell so fresh.
You know, I don't want to dox you, but I'm wondering if it's the different thing, because here we get fog off the ocean a lot. Like
We don't. No.
where I am here, which is not far from the People's Republic of Santa Monica, we get, sometimes it's cloudy here, and if I drive over the hill to go to the valley, it's really hot and sunny over there. It can be very different. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm on the Gulf of Texas, okay? I call it the Gulf of Texas because I don't want to get in any fights with anybody.
Oh, right. The Gulf of Texas.
That's why I stopped using Facebook.
Um,
I was in the habit of saying I live on the Gulf,
yeah.
and people will hound you to make a choice, and it's like I don't care. Okay, I really don't. But it's the Gulf of Texas, and we have such a breeze here. In fact, I was being told, because we watched the guys out there with they fly those, I don't know what you call it, parasailing, where you have this U-shaped kite and it lifts you right off. They're on like a little surfboard and they just get pulled across the water.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they go up really high in the air. Sometimes they'll get an updraft and you watch them go way up there. And I was reading something about it where Corpus Christi is considered an expert place for that sport because it's always so windy here. And they have to really, they really gather on this beach to do that sport sometimes.
Yeah. So
And then there are some of them that have a motor and they actually just fly around that way.
Yeah. So this is a big difference between if you're on the east of a continent or the west of a continent, because
Yeah.
our water here is never blue. It's always green. Like it is so filled with algae. Sometimes it's so filled with algae you'll get poisoned if you go in the water, right? So we get
Wow.
lots of fishing, and like the clear blue you guys get on in Texas and Florida, like that never happens. And I guess the wind patterns are also different because we get El Nino, so sometimes off the water we get like these storms that it'll flood like you wouldn't believe really quickly. We get Santa Ana winds, but those come off the desert. They don't come off. Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
What'd you say?
Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
Back when I was in college, I went out with a friend actually a bunch of friends. We went out there to visit one of our college buddies. home out there.
Mm.
And I really didn't get to see much. We were in Los Angeles, and then we went up to San Francisco. And everybody in San Francisco was from Boston, so that wasn't any fun. Then we went back. We went back to Massachusetts. We got the way we got back. We flew out there, and then when we got back by renting. It was basically, we didn't even rent it. There was somebody who was running a delivery service for Winnebago.
Mhm.
So we were allowed to, somebody got the permission to take this Winnebago to deliver it to a dealership on the East Coast. And we got to, the bunch of us piled into it. And it was, it was 1971 or 2.
Mm.
And yeah, it was crazy.
5 years before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were born in 76?
77. Yeah. Yeah. Came to the United States in 85.
Oh, where did you come from?
I was born in Iran.
Iran?
Yeah. Tehran. Yeah. Yeah. So we left Iran when I was 6, and it took 8 months to apply for asylum. And finally got asylum in the United States and came here. And yeah, except for the 1 year I spent in Israel, I've been living pretty much in Los Angeles ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you traveled around to the rest of the country very much?
Somewhat. Like, I mean, I've done several road trips, especially as part of like this whole estuary thing. I drove to Arkansas and back once, and met with people along the way. And I drove to Indiana and back once, and met with people along the way. And I've driven north several times, including like 200 miles into Canada and back. So yeah, I like long drives, but yeah, I love like nice scenic drives where there isn't that much traffic, and the coast, like California up to Washington and back, it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that drive. That was beautiful back then. But
Yeah.
what did you think of I sent you some videos after we talked, just showing different things about the history of the Cajuns of the North and the South. What did you think of that? Did you have a chance to look at them?
I took a look. I did listen to a lot of it. It seemed like an academic discussion, and frankly, I just I haven't had a lot of time. I do want to visit Louisiana though. I really want to visit Louisiana, and I'm surprised I haven't gone yet. Gavin lives.
You should visit Lafayette County, up in around Lafayette and up around there.
Well, that's where Father Stephen DeYoung has his church, is in Lafayette.
Oh.
Yeah. So his church is in Lafayette. And if I drive through Louisiana and don't visit him, I mean, I don't know what he's gonna say.
You will have to say 5 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers.
Well, he's Eastern Orthodox. I don't think they say Hail Marys, but maybe Our Father. Yeah.
Well, it's a Catholic joke. The thing about going to confession is the punishment is you say so many prayers.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, we learned we would do speed praying. I mean, we would buzz right through those prayers. So we'd go to confession, we'd get our penance, we'd go up to the altar rail. Okay, and then we'd go home. It's not the kind of attitude towards sin that the Protestants have.
Yeah, I mean, look, kids. I'm not sure kids really understand sin very well. Yeah.
Well, and as Catholics, we really weren't expected to. I mean, because another difference between us and a lot of different Protestant groups is that the Catholics have two levels of sin, and most sin, venial sin, is really not considered evil. It's considered just weakness and being stupid, and so that's basically what most kids are taught, is that you're not an evil person. You're just you just need to behave better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing is, I mean, there are really evil people out there. There really are, and
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people have difficulty. I think a lot of people sometimes don't understand that there's real evil out there, and they think everyone must, to some extent, be driven to it or whatever. And it's like, no, there are some people who I call it demon possession if you want, but there are people who do really horrible things because they're horrible people.
Well, also, a lot of what I notice about people is they think, for example, when you get into talking about some really bad forms of crime, like perversions of different kinds, they think that by pointing at somebody and saying, this person is this and that, I don't want to use all the language because it messes up the algorithms, but the kind I mean, the perverted kind of crime. They think, well, if you talk about, Joe Blow is this and that, and he does these things, that he'll be ashamed. But they don't get it. Some of these people are truly evil, but they really believe that they should be proud of what they do. And when you try to shame them, they're taking it as praise. They're bragging about that stuff. And you can't really talk to somebody who just doesn't have the context of values that you're coming from when you criticize them.
Yeah. What's the saying? Hypocrisy is the respect that shame pays to evil, or something like that. Like, at the very least, be a hypocrite, right? But some people, they're just, and they call it pride, right? They're just proud of it, right? It's like, look, just I understand. Okay, this is a weakness you may have. This might be something you're not, But at the very least, don't be proud of it. But some people are. Yeah.
Well, it's also, we're not supposed to have standards anymore. It's like this strange value system that seems to have come in with the counterculture of the 70s that a lot of us laughed at. We had no idea it was really going to take root the way it has. And you can't it's very frustrating, because it's really like talking to people from a different country with a different language, except that if you're speaking to a true foreign person, at least you both know you have a language problem. But when you're speaking to somebody who's supposedly from your same background, but they have this completely topsy-turvy cultural attitude in their life, you just can't have a conversation that's going to make any sense.
Yeah. No, and sometimes I think especially some Americans one of the things that when I was growing up in the United States, I just knew there were certain things I couldn't explain to my friends because it was just so foreign to them. They couldn't understand what I was saying. You know, I grew up
Yeah.
as a child. I mean, I was only 6, but in Tehran, and Persian culture is very different. It's
Oh
very
yes, I have a friend who um was married to an Iranian woman, and I've known a few different people from there who call themselves Persian, and the culture is very different. It's really beautiful. But yeah, that's another problem we have. Like, I hearken back to the days when we had our ethnic school systems, and it used to be a standard in the American education system to learn a second language. And if you had an advantage if you came from an ethnic community because you already had the second language. But even so, high schoolers and college kids still had a foreign language requirement up until about the 1990s and early 2000s. Then all the colleges did away with that. And you talk to people now, they have no clue that there are different ways of experiencing the world. Like the whole pronoun thing, okay? In French, you have masculine and feminine, but a chair is feminine and a table is masculine.
yeah.
It's like, and in Germany, you have 3 levels of masculine, feminine, and neuter. Now, in French, you don't have a neuter, but in Germany, you have the neuter, but they don't do it like we do in English, where living creatures are either masculine or feminine, and inanimate objects are all it. They're all neutral. But in Germany, I took 1 year of German in college, and one of the things that still sticks with me is that people could be masculine, feminine, or neuter based on their social status more than on their gender.
Mm.
It was a very complicated thing, and it was one of the reasons why I didn't continue to pursue studying German, because I decided I really didn't need it. I don't know why I signed up for it in the first place. But it was funny. But another funny thing about that was when the teacher had us all read a passage of German just to see if we could handle the pronunciation. She made me read it twice. And then she said, "How come you're speaking German with a French accent?"
German with I'm sorry to. I mean, we got involved in the discussion. I don't usually stay on when other people are streaming, and Mark's stream started already.
Okay.
So I'm gonna end the stream. But yeah,